Forgotten glory, the rise and fall of an ancient empire, the chill wind, scented with damp earth and the smoke of distant hearths, bit at the face of a young warrior. He knelt amidst the churned mud of a Saxon battlefield, the metallic tang of blood thick in the air. Around him, the cries of the wounded mingled with the triumphant shouts of the Frankish soldiers. This was not the glory sung of in bards' tales. No pristine Roman legions, no orderly formations. This was a brutal, grinding victory, bought with sweat, toil, and the cold certainty of death. It was the beginning of a kingdom's reshaping and the dawn of Carolus Magnus Charlemagne the Great. The Franks were a people of the forests, of the rivers, of the land's rough edges. They inherited the fragments of Rome, a legal code here, a mosaic there, the ghosts of villas haunting the countryside. But they were no Romans. They were a patchwork of tribes, loyalties shifting like the currents of the Rhine. When Charlemagne ascended the throne, it was not to a unified kingdom, but to a fractured realm, beset by warring dukes, the relentless raids of the Saxons, and the lingering ambition of neighboring kings. He was not born to inspire adoration. His early years were marked by political maneuvering, by the constant need to secure his position against his own brothers and rivals. He was a fighter, yes, but also a shrewd politician, a listener, a student of men. Unlike some, he understood that conquest was not enough. A kingdom required more than just force. It needed order, faith, and the slow, painstaking work of building trust. The conquest of Saxony was a brutal, decades-long affair. It was not a swift victory, but a grinding attrition, a test of Frankish resolve against Saxon ferocity. The Iron Forest, as the Saxons called it, swallowed Frankish soldiers whole. Battles were not glorious processions. They were desperate clashes in dense undergrowth, marked by the screams of the dying and the clash of steel against steel. Charlemagne, often at the vanguard, understood the cost. He felt the weight of each Saxon life lost and the burning need for peace, even if achieved through subjugation. Each winter, the Saxons would revolt, forcing Charlemagne to brutally put down uprisings, a dark and difficult part of his reign. Southward, in Lombardy, Charlemagne faced a different challenge, a king who believed he was equal to a Frankish monarch. The Lombards, descendants of invaders themselves, held sway over northern Italy, and their ambitions threatened Frankish interests. Charlemagne's march on Pavia was not a clash of titans, but a calculated demonstration of power, a reminder to those who dared challenge his authority. He did not seek to crush the Lombard kingdom entirely, but to bind it to his own, incorporating its strengths into the growing Frankish dominion. He understood that a kingdom unified solely by fear would crumble. He needed more than just military might. He needed a shared identity, a common purpose. And so, he fostered the growth of Christianity, not as a tool of subjugation, but as a source of unity and moral guidance. He held councils, debated theological nuances, and encouraged the conversion of the pagan regions, knowing that faith could bind hearts as effectively as any treaty. Then came the pivotal moment, the one that would etch his name in the annals of history. On Christmas Day, in the heart of Rome, surrounded by the grandeur of St. Peter's Basilica, Pope Leo II placed a crown of gold upon his head. It was a symbolic gesture, a declaration that Charlemagne was not merely a king, but an emperor, the restorer of the Roman Empire, a beacon of Christian hope in a fragmented world. The weight of the crown was not just metal, it was the burden of expectation, the dream of a resurrected Roman glory. The crowd roared, a wave of awe and hope washing over the basilica, but Charlemagne felt a pang of unease. He knew the fragility of such a claim, the precariousness of the peace that held his empire together. The Golden Age, the Renatus Imperii Romanorum, the rebirth of the Roman Empire bloomed under his patronage. He summoned scholars from across Christendom, Alcuin of York, Einhard, Paul the Deacon transforming his court at Aachen into a center of learning. Monks toiled in scriptoria, illuminating manuscripts under flickering candlelight, painstakingly copying ancient texts, preserving the wisdom of Virgil, Cicero, and Aristotle. The Carolingian Renaissance, fragile yet brilliant, illuminated the darkness of a Europe still reeling from the collapse of Rome. New laws, standardized weights and measures, and a renewed emphasis on education laid the foundations for a more ordered society. The concept of beneficence flourished, the belief that a lord had a duty to protect and care for his people, not just, but the seeds of decay were already sown. The vastness of the empire stretched the resources thin. The succession became a source of contention. After Charlemagne's death in 814, his heirs, Louis the Pious, Lothair, Charles the Bald, and Louis I, could not agree on how to divide his legacy. The Treaty of Verdun in 843 brutally carved the empire into three kingdoms, East Francia, West Francia, and Middle Francia, a fracturing that reflected the centrifugal forces tearing at its core. The Northmen, ferocious warriors from the icy fjords of Scandinavia, descended upon the coastal settlements, raiding and pillaging with impunity. From the east, the Magyars, skilled horsemen and ruthless warriors, swept across the plains, bringing fire and devastation. And within the fractured kingdoms, the power of local dukes and counts, once contained by Charlemagne's iron will, began to reassert itself. The image of a unified Christian empire, once so vibrant, faded into the mists of memory. France, Germany, and Italy, the seeds of future nations emerged from the wreckage, bearing the echoes of Charlemagne's ambition, but following divergent paths. The empire, built on the strength of a single man and the fervor of a moment, dissolved like a dream in the dawn. Forgotten glory, perhaps, but not lost. The Carolingian legacy lived on in the legal codes, the reverence for learning, and the enduring dream of a united Christendom. It echoed in the cathedrals that rose from the ashes, in the laws that governed the land, and in the hearts of those who remembered the reign of Carolus Magnus, Charlemagne the Great. He was a shadow, a memory, a monument to what could be, and a poignant reminder of the ephemeral nature of even the most ambitious dreams.